Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, whenever you're watching this. This is BIGCED, the industry cosign. Again, I'm here. I'm going nowhere, and as usual, I have somebody here that's along for the ride today because I can't do this alone. I have a good friend of mine. I've known him. Wow, a couple of years. Yeah, I'm gonna say a couple of years. We'll get into the meeting aspect of it. Bobby Yan, I you know what? I usually read the bio, but I don't know where I put it because I'm looking at my desktop and I messed up again. Anyway, Bobby Yan is a great filmmaker, editor. You know what? I'm gonna let him introduce himself because, as y'all know, I usually do. I mess up, so I'd rather I mess up than he mess up. So, introducing my friend is better than yours, Bobby Yan.
Thank you, said. Um,
What a way
so
to start.
yeah, I know. Well, said and I've been friends for a really, really long time. So I'm a filmmaker, a director, writer, producer, editor. But I also like you. We both started years ago. I started in the music industry, so that's my background. So our roots go very, 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 very far back, since we were kids, probably. So yeah. I don't know. But it's good to be here, said. You know,
Thank you. I
it's good
appreciate
to
you
be with
taking the
friends.
time. I appreciate you taking the time to join me in this. Um, I want to start off by asking, like, what sparked your interest in, before we get into everything, but what sparked your interest into one, the entertainment industry, two, filmmaking specifically?
Um, I think film is an art form, and as a kid, for me, creativity has always been my expression. So it's just music, film. I used to draw, I used to sing. All of that meshes together into creativity. So I think filmmaking for me is a craft and an art form that combines a lot of those things into one. You know, so it's a collaborative effort. Uh, it's storytelling at its core, and at my core, I'm a storyteller. I like to write and create ideas. I like to bring them to life visually. I like to emote and work with the talent to bring it to life, which makes sense because I came into the game with the music industry with music videos, and in some ways that was my training ground to work with artists. And the empathic self of myself was working with these artists to bring their visuals, their ideas, their music to life. So it correlates with me moving forward into making movies, which has always been the goal, even when I was doing the music. I think I got the bug for doing movies when I was like 14 years old. I think that's when it first dawned on me, like, hey, I want to do this. So
Well, to give our viewers a little bit of background, where did you grow up? Because I know it wasn't in New York City, but I know we met in New York
it,
City. But
well, it was. I'll give you the quick rundown. Born and raised in Washington Heights, and
oh,
then yeah, and then moved to Hollis, Queens at age 12. So I kind of claim Hollis more because that's where most of my life has existed. And then age 17, I moved to New Orleans, Louisiana for college at Tulane University, which is where I came into the industry where most people knew me from was when I was living in New Orleans. So a lot of people thought I was from New Orleans, but New Orleans is my second home anyway, so it's all good. So
see.
I'll claim all three of those places, but mainly Queens. So
So you're really a native New Yorker, so that's a good
yes,
thing. Now I know, if I'm correct, um, I think it was Warner, right?
Warner Saunders.
Yeah, we met.
Yes, Warner Saunders. Warner Saunders was my classmate in college, and what can I say about Warner? He's an amazing guy. He's an amazing artist, and we used to have a video show back in New Orleans, and Warner was a producer and a host of the show with me, and I don't know. I guess that's how we all know each other. So because Warner ended up working in the music industry, work with you and
Yeah,
a lot of other people, Vibe, and I don't know. He did a lot.
yeah.
So shouts to Warner Saunders.
I just remember that he was from Chicago when we
Hmm.
first met, and at Vanguard Media. We worked at Vanguard Media,
Hmm.
Yeah, it had to be Vanguard. Yeah, it was Vanguard, or
I
maybe
remember
before
that.
Vanguard. But then we ended up working at Vanguard together, and I know that we all hung out. And I can't remember what I did yesterday, let alone those years ago. But I do have a question because with the way that everything is nowadays when it comes to social media and just technology in general. Now we have social media. We didn't have social media when we were coming up. I think if we had social media, half of us would either be in another place, dead or whatever, but it would be different results. But at the same
Yes.
time, social media has helped so many people nowadays. What do you think when we were coming up? How do you think we would have used social media? And you specifically, do you think it would have helped, harmed, or would it have like just been something, a way of life? Because that's the way of life. That's the way it is now, where social media is part of life.
I think it would have been just part of life. You know,
Yeah,
back in the day, before social media, I'll just give props to some of the people that I knew, like Ralph McDaniels,
yeah,
and even myself, because he was my inspiration, my mentor back in the day in terms of I grew up watching Video Music Box in New York. So
yeah.
when I went to New Orleans, I had my own show called Hip Hop Half Hour, which basically became, it'll never be like Video Music Box, but it was very well known in the city of New Orleans. It was shown in the whole city. So I'll say this: we were social media before social media, right?
So,
A lot of the community in New Orleans, they would get their information and music sources, and because the show that we had, and I'll shout my producing partner Jamal Payne. He worked, I think you know him. He worked with me back in the day as well in New Orleans, and we became a information hub, community hub. So in between music videos, we would talk about the issues in the city and in the country, and it became social media before social media. We were like the Twitter of, or X, whatever you want to call it, right?
Twitter.
Um, Twitter, yes, Twitter.
Oh, it's always gonna be
We
Twitter.
were,
I don't care what they say.
it's only Twitter, so it was the Twitter before Twitter, and I give homage to all the local media, all the other video shows around the country that I got to know and become friends with. That we were the originators of keeping culture and news alive, especially if you had a purpose. I know I had a purpose for what I was doing. I wasn't just willy nilly playing music videos. I realized the impact of the videos and how we were shaping hip hop culture and other cultures as well. So,
And it's funny that you bring up Ralph because it seems as if like almost every person I spoke to, Ralph comes up somehow because my connections with Ralph, of course, and coincidentally, his birthday is this week, February 27th, and he's
nice.
having a little concert in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Bowl. So if anybody that watches this before February 27th, come through. I can't announce who's going to be there, but it's going to be a great show.
Well, thanks
And
for reminding me. So I shall
yeah,
try to be there. I totally
yeah,
forgot. So yeah.
definitely. See, things happen for a reason. But what I like to do when I do speak to my friends is I want to basically get to the meat of who they are and what they're doing because and our conversation can go anywhere, but I also don't want it to be where we talk for a while and the next thing you know we didn't talk about whatever it is that you're doing. So I want people to I want to I have my notes right here. I know that you've been involved. Wait, you've directed 4 feature films. I mean, you've
Five,
directed
five,
more,
five, five feature films up to
5
this date.
feature films,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to see. And I can't, and I hate myself because I can't read my own writing because whenever I'm writing, I, but anyway, I know that a more recent one, a very merry beauty salon, which starred Tia Mari and Ronrico Lee. Did I say that
Mhm.
right? And I know that's was Lifetime's highest rated. Well, it wasn't a series; it was a movie.
Yeah, it was a Christmas movie.
Yes, Christmas
Christmas
movie.
movie.
So
Yeah.
it was the highest rated movie. Like, first off, how did you end up getting that? How does it feel to actually have the number one highest rated, well, most viewed, or I don't know, whatever it is.
Whatever it
Um,
is, that's what I was told. So
yeah, like I want to know because that's a big thing because I mean, Lifetime has about 9,000 movies a month, it seems. So for you to direct a movie that that stands out has got to be a great thing, of course, for you. But like, how does that feel? First, describe how does it feel knowing that something you've been involved with reached such a pinnacle, and also like tell us like how you were able to. And I know you've been doing it for years, so I guess I should have prefaced it by asking like some of the things you've done in the past leading up to this. But like I said, whenever I'm talking to my friends, it just goes anywhere because there's always so much to talk about. But I never know when and where to start because I'll have started and then by the time we get to something else, I'll be somewhere else. But anyway, let's talk about the movie specifically.
Well, to answer your first question, I got the film from relationships. A good friend of mine, James Bland, he referred me to the producer for it, um, Michael Chin. So shouts to those guys. Love those guys. So it's just through friendship and relationships, brotherhood, or sisterhood if you're a girl, it doesn't matter. So it's your relationships. And I think that's also one of the things I realized for you, even calling this My Friends Are Better Than Yours, we're all extensions of each other, right? And we all hopefully can learn to grow and work together parallelly toward our life goals, right? So I've known you for so many years, and yet, you're still doing your thing, and you know that you got the support from me. So that is literally in the core of who I am. Is I support my brothers and sisters out there that I know have good spirits, and good hearts. They have talent. They're doing their thing. So I think this was an example of that. It was kind of like a family affair in that sense. Secondly, it's an honor. It's an honor, number one, to work with Tia Mari and Ron Lee. Everybody knows Tia Mari, but Ron Lee was part of Sister back when they were kids. So this movie was a reunion. It was a fanfare movie for the fans, made for the fans. So I think for me to be able to helm the honor of directing them in this film and paying homage to their fans, it was very special to me. And again, I'm I'm happy because it correlates with my history, um, working in this industry. I work for culture. I work for the culture and for the support of culture. You know, for the betterment of uh, representation, right? So I think that was important to Tia, is important to me when I took it on, because the film was about sisterhood, Black women in a beauty salon, and honestly, as an Asian man, I'm honored to be able to take on this job to direct it, right? But with respect to the culture, with understanding of the meaning of what the story was about. So yeah, I mean, I think that's all I could say. It was just an honor to do that. So, and the fact that it's a lifetime movie, which is amazing. It's an honor to work with Lifetime, right? And now I could, check off Christmas movie off my bucket list. I've done a Christmas movie, right? So it's cool. So,
So let me ask you a question because I'm always curious with directors and like anybody that works on film, TV, when it comes to directing or producing people, like you have to deal with different personalities at all times because of course
yeah.
everyone has different personalities. You've done different genres, you've done like so many different. How do you deal with um how do you deal with people? And I don't want to use Tia or anybody else as an example as far as like how do you treat, because I'm pretty sure that there's people who are awful people who we don't know yet that are coming up in the ranks. And just the opposite of somebody who's been doing it for 30 years might be the most cooperative. And I know there's a stereotype of the diva behavior and things of that nature. But my question to you is not necessarily a diva behavior, things of that nature, but how do you deal with people with different personalities, knowing that you're directing a movie with one goal, well, a primary goal in line, as well as having to deal with, depending on how big the cast is, several personalities? How are you able to deal with it, as well as keep your sanity if you do by trying to stay on track with whatever goal it is that you have for completing the movie?
Um, well, good thing you're saying this. I had good background and training. Hey, we came from the music industry. Said I came from the music industry. You want to talk about big egos and full of personalities. I directed over 100 music videos over the years. I was sweeping, interning for Ralph as a kid. Like, I've seen it all. I've seen I've been around all the personalities, all the big personalities. I think it's the best training to prepare me now for where I am right now. And even dealing with the record industry clients. I mean, these are parallel to the film industry clients, the TV clients that I have. It's parallel. You're dealing with a lot of personalities, and then you really just have to be grounded. I think that's the one thing that this has taught me over the years is grounded. Ground yourself, know your goal, um, understand that no man is an island. We work together. It's teamwork. Even if you don't agree with the person, in the end, do we agree that we want a good movie or show? Yes, we do. And that's all that matters in the end. And in the end, to me, I don't care what type of personality you have. I'm gonna get a good project. I'm gonna get my shot. I'm gonna get a good project. It's gonna happen. If you hire me, I'm gonna do a good job. And you're gonna have my all, no matter who I'm working with. I could hate the person, which I'll never say, but it doesn't matter. As long as we get the job done, it doesn't, I've learned that over the years. I've learned to deal with so much craziness. I mean, I'm sure you have too. And
Yeah,
you just, in the end, you have to learn to laugh it off because you know what? It's their issue. It's not yours. It's
yeah,
always them. It's the trauma of the person that you're dealing with. They have trauma. And if you understand their trauma, and as creators, we're empaths, we understand the trauma of human beings, and we understand that you just gotta let it go because it's not about you, it's them. But you know what? In the end, I'll tell you this is my secret. My secret is, and I don't know how this might parallel with music producers too. I don't know. All I care about is what I capture on this little frame of this camera, the lens. I only care about what's in there. The world could be collapsing around me. The set could be burning, as long as people are safe. But as long as what I'm getting in that frame is good, I keep moving. That's how I deal with it. If that makes any sense. And that has kept me through thick and thin through so much over the years. So
now I know that with a lot of directors or a lot of people that's involved with filmmaking, like is it really standard? I mean, nothing's really standard nowadays because there's so many options. But would you say that it's standard to start with videos, short films, and then movies? Would that be when I say standard? I don't mean standard as in everyone does the same thing, but as far as the growth to, I mean, because I mean, some people I know jump straight into filmmaking a full movie, so I do understand
yeah.
that concept. But I meant
Hmm.
as far as just in general to anybody who wants to get into it, like are there levels to get to? Because I think most people when they get into this, the movie is probably the big thing because that's usually the biggest budget. That's usually the longest. Whatever. Like I said, everyone has different goals. But
Hmm.
what am I correct, or am I in the same area when I say video, short film, movie?
I don't think there's especially now with the advent of phones where you can shoot a movie on your phone. Back in the day, you know, before video and digital DSLR cameras, um, it was a little harder. It was a little harder to break into doing a movie. You kind of had to have money to do it. You had to have a certain budget. And you still do to a certain extent, but just not as. But the cost of barrier is much way lower now. Um, I say there's no one path to get into becoming a director, a movie director. I mean, number one, I think the most important is always going to be my adage is to learn your craft, study the craft. You don't even necessarily have to go to film school to study your craft. You can take online courses. I mean, we have stuff that we didn't have before. You can get an online course. You know, you can study on your own. You can read books like I did back in the day. I was reading nothing but books on directing and screenwriting since I was like 16, 17 years old. That's all I was doing you know so for me it's just constantly knowing your craft. Know your craft first, and then wherever way you get in, that's how you get in. I was talking to someone the other day, and he's an actor, and he says, I'm an actor, but I want to get into directing. I'm like, great, because you're already learning the craft of acting,
Yeah.
and then going from acting to directing. As long as you study, there's a path there. There's your way in, right? And honestly, like, talking about Ron Rico Lee, uh I mean, he's an actor, but he also directed. And you know what? Working with him was one of the biggest uh, blessings because he is a director slash actor. He's an actor first, of course, but he also directs. The understanding between us is amazing. Like
Yeah.
we just get each other. It's so much easier to work with an actor that knows how to direct and is also a director, right? Because we know each other's jobs. Just like I respect an actor's job, I respect the actor's craft, right? Lately, I've been doing a lot of guest dropping into acting coaches classes, and I do it just because I care about having the actors succeed. I give them advice, I give them feedback, I direct them like I'm directing a film, and I really want to see these actors just make it. I want to see them book big jobs, and I think that um, that's it. Understand your whatever you're going to do in film, even a music producer, produce music. Understand your craft. Study music. Study how to play the piano or something. Or learn how to engineer your song. You know, get a good set of earbuds and or ear headphones and study frequencies. I mean, whatever it is, understand your craft. So.
Well, speaking of, because you mentioned about speaking to people. Now, when you were in college, Tulane University, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, Tulane University. Um, I had to now see this is the thing that I always find out when I talk to my friends, because I can know you for 90 years, and that doesn't mean I know everything about you. But I saw that the Bobby Yan lectureship series in social media and change goals. Wait, I wrote that wrong. See, I hate my writing. So um, that from my understanding, that took place recently at Tulane University, where you would talk to students and people who are interested in, I guess, social media and just in general. But um, how did that come about? And when you do speak to people about either the craft or whatever it is you're speaking about, how do you feel when you do speak to them and by the time you finish speaking to them? I know
Well,
it's a hard question, but
yeah, yeah.
like,
So I'll just give you some quick background. It's a series every year at Tulane University that they named after me. So I'm not the speaker. They bring speakers in, and they
gotcha.
just
Okay.
named it was a university honor, and quite honestly, I'm still trying to get over that. Like, wow, I don't even know how
I'm
you're
trying to get
honoring
over
me.
that.
Why? I know, me too, right? But they did that in remembrance of um I guess my impact at Tulane back in the day, because I did a lot at the school while I was there. Besides the music stuff, doing the TV show, I also formed the Asian Student Union, which is still there to this day. Um, and then I did events. We did a lot of stuff back in the day. I was an activist in college. 17-year-old little militant kid. That was me, and I still am. I'm just putting my love for the work into filmmaking. So that was their way of honoring me. So again, thank you. Shout out to Tulane University. I completely just very happy for that. But yeah, they had some good speakers. They had a showrunner last year, Felicia Henderson. I think she did Moesha. I think she did a lot of stuff. She's amazing. And then they had some other some speakers. They had a producer named Christine Vachon. She was a producer for a movie called Boys Don't Cry back in the day. One of the preliminary, most eminent indie film producers out there. So it was such an honor to have her come to this event. That was, it's really the event is about talking about how not social media but media in general can be worked for changing lives, changing the environment, which is so much more needed now in 2025. So.
Yeah. You know what? Because you mentioned indie film. Now, here I go, just bouncing around again. You're a director, regardless of whether it's indie, major, commercial, whatever. But being that indie and mainstream, am I guess mainstream would be the right word. Um, are different in terms of funding, and of course, um, other variables, because as an indie, you might not have the budget to do a nighttime shoot or things of that nature. how do you approach your projects when you have an indie project versus a project that is well funded? And not to say an
Um,
indie project isn't well
yeah,
funded. I'm just
yeah,
using it as the difference between one being smaller than the other. That's what I should have said. But
yeah. I think the indie projects tend to be the ones that are, they're a gamble, but they're passion projects,
yeah,
right? So for me, when I started, I did a short film. That was my passion. That was my entry before I did my first, you know, feature. I did seven shorts, in a
yeah,
row. I did a lot, but and most of those I've either written them or I was working with the writer and they just basically brought me on to direct. Regardless, it's a passion project. Each of those are passion projects. Indie films, whether they're short or a long thing, they're passion projects. Yes, passion projects tend to be lower budget, but then indie is also variable. Indie could be anything from $1,000 to, I mean, even 10 million, 15 million could be indie film. It just means it's financed independently, not by a studio system. That's the
gotcha,
difference. So a
gotcha.
studio film, a major film, is financed by studios, right?
Yeah,
And even the studios, they deal with investors, as well, to get their money and all that stuff, or international sales. There's so many ways of doing it, but that's kind of the difference. So indie could be big or could be small, you know. But yeah, I think for me, the difference as a director for me that has done both indie and now, I guess studio features, not huge studio, but Lifetime, Tubi, TV1, BET. Um, I think the biggest thing I've learned is to understand your audience, understand who is this film targeted for, um, and that's how you're going to get something greenlit. To all the indie filmmakers out there that might be watching this, or people that are interested, yeah, you could have a great film idea. So many people come to me, I've got a script idea. Okay, great. Okay, you gotta put it down, you gotta organize, you don't even have to write it, you have to get the idea right. But then the thing I'm gonna ask them is, who is your audience? Who's gonna watch this? Some films are just meant to be watched at home streaming. Some films are meant to be prestige films for the Academy Awards, for Cannes and Sundance. There's so many different marketplaces for your film. It's like and again, I'll equate it back to music artists. Who's your audience? Who's your music for? Who's your fan base? Filmmaker, a director, a writer should also, a producer should also know who's going to be the fan base of this particular project. Sometimes it's a passion project, like an independent documentary that's just about the subject matter that they care about.
yeah.
And it will eventually find their audience, or it's just something that's so important that it needs to be told. And sometimes that's just like, it's just donation. You're just donating to the project because you care about the subject matter. And then sometimes things are just a bona fide hit. Sometimes things that you're not really sure if it's going to be a bona fide hit, right? But it becomes a bona fide hit. It's a gamble. Like I've been watching Severance on Apple TV, and
I just
I
looked at
was
yesterday.
list, yeah, I was listening to some of the actors talk, and they were like, we didn't know it was going to be hit. But you're right. Apple TV doesn't know whether that's going to be hit, but they put a lot of money into it. And they got Ben Stiller and all these big people in it. But that doesn't guarantee that it's going to find an audience. But it found an audience. They took a gamble on that, and they found an audience. So I think for me, as a creative, I'm a director, but I'm also looking at myself. I'm a creator first now. I'm a creator slash director. So I'm pivoting toward creator. I'm creating ideas, creating projects, understanding who are my projects going to be targeted to, who are the audience, who's going to watch it. That's really important. Sometimes it's a large audience for commercial success. Sometimes it's for a niche audience for the artistry or for the message.
Now, I know you mentioned you did several shorts, and I I've never asked this question before. I've spoken to a couple of filmmakers over the years, and I thought about it as you were talking about it. Do some filmmakers, after making shorts several years later, turn it into a feature? I mean, a full length? Like, does
Mhm.
that happen?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah. A bunch of my friends did that. A bunch of my friends did that. So yeah, I mean that was my intention when I did my first short. It was to do the short. It was called Mars. It stars Jade Yorker and Devale Ellis. Um, it was meant to become a feature. Um, so that didn't happen for different reasons, but the short did open the door for me to eventually get my first feature regardless. I got hired to do feature, right? So a director for hire. I became a director for hire, which means that I'm just hired as a director to do a job that's written by somebody else, right? So
So speaking of that, because I used to produce music, and I know
mhm.
that I've told people that I feel that a director has the same role as a music producer because you don't have to create the work, but you're basically overseeing what's brought to you.
Correct,
Have there ever,
100%. I think
yeah,
it's a good
so
parallel. Yeah,
yeah, because like I said, when I used to produce, it's like people used to say, and I know it's a bad example. Diddy, people was like, he's not really a producer because people do the beats. But it's like a producer isn't the person necessarily doing the music or doing the beats. It's the person that has the vision for that song and makes it what it ends up being. And I know that directors have the same role. Have you ever had a I don't want to say clash, but if have you ever had a time where if you're directing someone else's film or someone else's thoughts or whatever, where your vision didn't correlate with the vision of the writer, or it's changed as you were doing it because of what you've seen, based on what you're working on?
yeah, yeah, definitely. It's it's um it's a collaboration in the end. So I happen to be a person that's easy to work with. Like if the person that's has the creative control over a project comes to me and says, I like it to be this way, then I'll figure out a way that it can work, right? But I'll figure out a way. That you?
Yeah, but go ahead.
I'll figure out a way to. Okay, said. So funny. Uh,
Sorry.
but I'll figure out a way to. It's okay. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out a way to do it. And still do it that it accomplishes the overall goal, right? So you know, let's say theoretically, like you're doing the movie and you don't really feel the script. You know what? It's fine if they don't want to change the script. If I've been told before. I've been actually told like, "Yo, Bobby, we know we might realize there's some issues with the script, but we realize that you're the right one that could bring it to life and do it the right way so it's still watchable." And I'm like, and then what I'm gonna say? Am I gonna argue with them? No, I'm gonna be like, okay, you know what? You're right. I'm the right guy that's gonna make your film watchable. That's my superpower. I'll do what I can to make it the best film I can. But that's also, again, that's a journey of working with the actors. You have to work with the actors. The actors have to commit to that, right? And they commit to it and they work with you to bring it to life. And they elevate you. And then as like a music producer dealing with an artist who sings or raps, a director works with the actors and you hopefully just bring it to life together. You guide them. You're guiding them. I'm sure, you know, not to mention Diddy again, but Diddy, that's what he did with all the artists he worked with. He guides them.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what he did. I've never been in the studio. I'm sure you have. I haven't. So
Well, I don't know if we're using the word guide, but let me stop. I'm sorry. I just lost my train of thought. So let's talk about Sugar Mama because I'm looking for one.
do you hear static? I hear static, by the way. I hear static. Oh, there's static.
No,
Where
it's
does that
static.
come from? It's gone now.
Oh, maybe I had my notebook near the thing. I don't
Oh
know,
yeah,
but
that's
maybe it
what it
was.
is.
Okay. So Sugar Mama, yeah. Another successful movie for you because it was what in the top 10 programming for Tubi.
It
Tell
was
us about.
a movie I did for Tubi last year. It came out January 3rd, and and I found this out after the fact. Like it broke into the charts for all streaming movies, not just Tubi. So it's on the list with Netflix and Max. It's top 10, and it survived 2 weeks on the charts, which is unprecedented for this type of movie because it didn't have famous people. I love actors, but it didn't have like those super known actors. No
Yeah,
disrespect to
yeah,
my actors, they're amazing and they deserve that. And it didn't have any publicity at all, except for a few blogs that picked it up. Shout out to those blogs. Blavity, what's up, Blavity? But yeah, I mean, it didn't have any of those things, but yet it made it into the top 10 with like the six triple eight, Tyler Perry, Carry On, Juror Number Two by Clint Eastwood. Like, my movie's sitting right smack in the middle of all that. It's crazy. So I attribute that to good direction, number one, right?
Yeah, of
It,
course.
it proves the worth of a director like myself, not to pat myself in the back, but good choice of actors, good collaboration with the team, the producers, the DP, the actors. We did a good job. We took a budget and made it look like Netflix quality, because Tubi doesn't have necessarily those budgets like HBO or Max or Netflix. But what we did was we took a budget and we made it competitive. It doesn't look like exactly the same, but it's downright competitive, and I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of the whole team that did that, because that's why and the writer, of course, Brianna, she's a great writer. And the executives I work with at Mar Vista and Tubi, they brought it to life in the point of, we did a film that they didn't expect. I don't believe they expected it to do this well, but it unprecedentedly got into this chart, and that's, for me, this is what it represents. Said it represents that any filmmaker, any of us, any filmmaker that has the right craft of storytelling, crew, talent attached. It doesn't even have to be famous talent, because you can create stars from a movie. You can create a
Yeah,
star from any movie, right? Um, Michael B. Jordan was, you know, got his big break from Fruitvale Station, even though although he's been known now, don't get me wrong. He was in Red Tails, he was in all these great things, or Friday Night Lights, but it was his breakout hit. So you can create a breakout hit for a
yeah,
good actor. And that's what it represents to me. The inspiring part of the situation is not just, oh yeah, I did that. No, the inspiring part is, we could do that. Another filmmaker can do that. You can take a small movie and break into the top 10 with Netflix, with Max. If you know what you're doing, if you have the right set of tools, good storytelling, a good movie that ultimately the audience will watch. And I think that's what Sugar Mama represents for me, because the numbers prove that people watch the movie from beginning to end. That's what it proved, because we had 100 in the first 2 weeks of it. We had 178 million minutes viewed. That's a lot for a Tubi movie. So shouts to Tubi for that. So
yeah. Now I want to go into what Bobby Yan is doing in the future. What does Bobby Yan would like to see done? Not even before it's done, but like even like in the near future. Like what is it that you're
yeah,
looking to do or be involved with in the next couple of years or so?
yeah. I am creating. I'm creating new projects of my own. I'm developing projects. I'm teaming up with other filmmakers to get their projects off the ground. Really talented people, and that's what I'm doing, is creating projects, writing projects, producing and directing projects. For me, I see myself directing Marvel features and things like that, even Star Wars. That's always been my goal. My NYU thesis was a Star Wars commercial. That was years ago, but it's me envisioning what I wanted to do so many years ago. But that's what I'll be doing. So, in my opinion, my goal, and I will be doing this, is not just direct franchises, create my own franchises, create my own Matrix, my own Star Wars, my own universe ahead of me, and then work with the best writers and work with the best team of people to bring it to life, foster new talent, other directors that have amazing voices, that ultimately are about shifting and moving culture. Um, Voices that we need, diverse voices. I'll use the word diversity. Yeah, we need diverse voices. And I'll just say this publicly, I am quadrupling, 100-tripling diversity in everything I do, because the more you say it's wrong, the more I'll say, yes, we need it, right? And that's for everybody. It's not just one culture. No, it's for everybody. It's just making sure that we all realize that we are all human and we're all the same. And anything I can do is going to be part of that, is pushing that statement is, yeah, we're all the same. No one's better than anybody else. I think that's something that I noticed yesterday. I was watching the SAG Awards, and a few other people were taking the awards. I know Jane Fonda said, it's about empathy. It's about caring for people, and it is. And as a filmmaker, as a director, as a creator, I care about. the world. I care about people, all people. So whatever I can do to make the world a better place, um, than when I left it, when I leave this earth, if I did something to better it, that's my goal as a filmmaker. So
I want to add to add to your diversity thing because everyone thinks that diversity means black or just based on race. And I just want to put my 2 cents in and let people know that diversity means being diverse, meaning any and everybody that's able to and should be given the same opportunities. Because especially in these day and age, and people talk diversity or DEI, it's like, oh, this, and it's like, and like I said, I know this is a kind of off topic, but finding out that black people specifically were the ones that benefited the least with the DEI program. So
oh
for them
yes,
trying to eliminate,
trust me.
for
Yeah,
them to
trust me.
eliminate something that
I know that, and I
just,
and I and one thing I will say, as an Asian American, I will not allow them to use Asians as a tool to create separation. No, I'm an Asian that loves culture. I love Black people, other people, Latinos, everybody. I don't care what you are, trans, gay, women, indigenous. I don't care. I'm going to be your proponent because for me, again, no one is better than others. If no one has said it, no. And I will tell every Asian person that has any anti-Black statement to shut the hell up and then tell them
yeah,
why and teach them their history. And also to understand that this is not the way that we're going to make it. We don't make it by faking. We make it by being real with each other. We make it by having communication with each other. So that's really, really important. I just started watching this documentary series by Justin Simeon called Hollywood Black. Have you seen it? It's on
actually, I think I
NGN.
started watching that. Yeah, I started watching that.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just so engrossed by it. It just puts everything into
Yeah,
context. The beginnings of Hollywood. The beginnings of Hollywood was using minstrel black faces. Like, hello, it's always been about race. Don't say it wasn't. It's always been about race. And yes, the culture, they are benefiting off black culture all the time. But who's benefiting? That's the question. That's what this document appears. I've only started it, but it really gave me
yeah,
good context. It's quite engrossing. I see a lot of people I know in it, and it's great. And I think again, we need to study history. It's very important to know where things came from, so we have context about what's happening now. And that's why categorically people are trying to destroy history because they know the power of truth. You know, but the truth is what's going to set us free. It's ultimately we have to know everything if we know how to. If we don't study and learn from the past, how can we avoid the mistakes for the future?
yeah,
Right? And I think life and anything that happens to us, good and bad, is for a reason, right?
definitely.
I don't think the universe gives you get bad things for you to just simmer in the bad. No, the universe gives us bad things so that we learn from it, so we're able to prevent another thing from happening, so we better ourselves. So it's the same thing as studying our history. We need to study history to know how to navigate for the next generation and for kids in the future. Like for me, again, what are we doing to better the world so when we leave the world in
Yeah,
a better place for future generations? Why are we not doing that? That doesn't make any sense to me if we're not. So, sorry
I
to be on the
agree.
soapbox, but it's
No,
important
no,
to me.
no.
Yeah.
Like I said, as long as you get it off your chest. What
Yeah.
advice? What advice do you give? Would you give to someone who's looking to pursue their dream, not necessarily within filmmaking, but just in general? If you
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
like, what advice would you give someone? Actually, you know what? Let's make it two parts. As far
Mhm.
as pursuing their dreams within filmmaking, and then if they're just fulfilling their dreams, like in general, because it can't be two
Mm,
different advice. That's why
it's,
when I was
it's
thinking about,
not.
I'm like,
It kind of is the same, but
okay,
uh, and I'm very guilty of this myself. Is just plotting what you want in your life. What do you want? I mean, that's number one. Knowing what you want, and I know for me, I kind of knew what I wanted. I mean, I always knew I was going to be a filmmaker, but I didn't realize what type of filmmaker I'm going to be. What's going to be my strategy to get there? I kind of just went willy nilly for about 20 years. Like all the times you met me, I was just kind of like floating. Even in the music industry, I was floating. I didn't really have a purpose,
I'm
and it
still
took a
floating.
little longer. You're still floating. Yeah. I think it took me a little bit of years. I think I was like 28 years old before I realized, Bobby, you need to have a purpose. Like you need to have direction. So I'll say this. It starts with what is your biggest dream? I say my advice is what is your biggest dream in your goals of this of and it could be anything. I mean, for some people it could be getting married with beautiful kids. Great. That's still a goal. That's a goal, right? But you also want to live comfortably, right? So where are you living? Where are you living? What type of life do you have? What type of job makes you happy? What do you do that makes you happy? And then reverse engineer that. And that's why I say that's the advice. So reverse engineer your life. Think forward of your biggest version of yourself and then work backwards. Everything you do is going to reach toward that goal and never let go of that goal because we can't be defined by this physical world because the physical world can change if you change your spiritual and emotional mind. It can change. If you're stuck in what you see in front of you right now, if you're not happy with what you have, then think about what will make you happy and shift that mindset because that's the first step. So that's it.
That's cool. I mean, is there anything else that you like to, discuss, or there's anything that you like to talk about? Or
No, no, Seth, I think that I'm just happy to be on your show and to support you. And you have been a blessing to a lot of people. I'll say give some love to Seth because you've been a blessing to a lot of people for all these years. Not just being a hip hop icon because you are, but also just the fact that you do networking events. You've been a person that has steadily, you know, built bridges between each other, and I can't even imagine the amount of people that you've helped over the years. So thank you for being that. And you are recognized because I may not know because one day someone needs to interview you. How's that? And then and you could tell them what you've done for a lot of people. So that I know you've done a lot because I know your
well,
spirit. I know who you are. So
I mean that happens now, but now let me stop. But I do appreciate that because when it's funny because sometimes you know something, but then you don't think too much about it. And even when I'm on the other end being interviewed, and when I'm getting asked the type of questions that I'm asking, like I have to sit back and say to myself, like, wow. Or if somebody asks me a question that I didn't think about because in my everyday travels, I'm not thinking about what's the next thing I'm going to do or how am I going to affect the world. I'm just doing it. And then to be reminded about some of the things I've done and some of the things I'm doing, it kind of amazes me sometimes because I have to remember that it is about me in a sense where whatever changes, whatever needs to go on, even if it's a bad thing, if it's a lesson to be learned, it needs to be learned. And I think that sometimes we get caught up in not really feeling like we don't need the lesson. We'll
hmm
welcome we'll welcome the message, but we don't need it until it's needed, if that makes sense.
hmm hmm
And like I said, and then when I do have these conversations, then I have to rethink and I have to shift my thinking sometimes because it's like you saying, it's like you've been in a position to help so many people and you've done this, that, and the other. And then I say to myself, yeah, I have. But I'm not thinking about that while I'm doing it because it's just what I'm doing. And from how I was brought up. And like I said, if I know Bobby Yann's doing something that somebody else can help out on, or vice versa, then I'm like, yo, Bobby, I got this friend, or blah blah blah, and I'm not thinking about what's in it for me because we get
hmm
that a lot in this industry where it's like, well, what's in it for me? And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this specifically, my friends are better than yours, is because I have so many friends that are doing things that I feel that the world needs to know about and if that's what I need to do right now in life, I'm going to do that because speaking of celebrities, I've done that. Do that. That's not. I mean, for me, it's like walking down a block. I've done it so many times where I know the back of my hand. But introducing the people in my world to other people in my world, I think that's a better statement because I can interview Jay-Z right now. Everybody knows who Jay-Z is. Yeah, I might be able to do a dope interview. I might be able to ask some questions, but like, so what? But introducing Bobby Yan to people that may not know who Bobby Yan is, or if they know who Bobby Yan is, not knowing some of the things that he's done before and things of that nature, is what makes me smile. And I know that once it's all said and done, when I have a collection and things of that nature, I'm going to be proud that the people I spoke to, they gave me a reason to want to speak to them, and
Mm.
that's what it's all about. And as you pointed out, I've known so many people. 90% of them I don't care about. I shouldn't say it like that, but people that know me know how my mindset is, and I'd rather speak to people who can speak to other people or hear about other people, so that way somebody that's watching this now is like, you know what, I need to get in touch with Bobby Yan. Let me call Sarah, what's up, or maybe Bob can help me with this, that, and the other. And I think that's more important than me having the latest tea or the most recent gossip. Everybody's doing it, but is everybody trying to acknowledge that they have great friends? Not really. So I want
Mm.
to, and that's why I think it took me so long to actually start doing a podcast again, because I'm like, I do interviews all the time. I speak to people all the time. That doesn't move me. What moves me now is, like I said, when I thought of the title, "My Friends Are Better Than Yours," I'm like, yeah, my friends are better than yours. I don't care who you are. I feel that way because those are my friends and I know what they're doing. And if I can bring that to light, whether it's 4 people, whether it's 4,000 people, whether it's 4 million people, if it's one person that finds out it can get better because of that, then I've done a service to not only that person but the person that I'm speaking to. And another good thing about video is that you can always come back at any time to hear some words, because I've had some people that's things interviews I've done 2 3 years ago. It's like, yo, I was looking at this interview and it's like, yeah, but I said, yeah, but this is that and the other, and you said this, and then when you spoke to this person, that's like, yo, that hit me. And I'm like, that's what it's about. So I'm hoping that,
Mm.
like, when I continue doing that, that people can, even if they look at it, you know what? when wait a minute, you're like, when you're at the Oscars winning 17 Oscars, then people gonna come in like, I remember Seth was talking to him. Yeah, that's the type of things that I'd rather do than wait until you get to that point and then want to talk to you. Because,
You're
like I
right.
said,
And I know, like we've seen people blow up overnight, right?
yes,
I
literally,
know I have. I know you have
literally,
instantaneously become a worldwide famous person when yesterday they wasn't. Then it happened. Things change,
yep,
life, and you never know what's going to happen. But you got to again keep your eyes focused on what you want, right?
definitely.
So we've all seen it. And then again, even for you, what do you want, Said? Think about it. I mean, if it's, I mean, you're doing a beautiful job, what you're doing. But what's next for you? What do you want to do? What's the bigger version of you? We all need to think about it. It's a reminder I give to everybody that I know is like, what do you want? And that's and quiet as kept, it's not something I thought about until like more recent years. I
Yeah,
didn't think of I was just floating. And I think that's the difference between like people that succeed early and people that succeed later.
yeah,
Sometimes we just got to take our time, and I know I took my time to float for a bit before I made up my mind what I really what I'm here for. Even though we all know our end position. Like I know my future. I've known it
yeah,
since I was a kid. I just didn't know when it was going to happen. But you know what? I decided I want it to happen now. I'm not
yeah,
waiting anymore. We're not getting any younger. What if we became famous and rich in our 20s? We could have lost it all. Sometimes people say that, like,
exactly.
you know what? For me, it probably would have been, I would have lost it all.
And we know
It's
people
good
that,
that I'm
that
taking longer.
do that. We
We do
actually
know
know
people
people
like,
that have done that. So
yes, we do. Yes, we
I
do.
do.
Yeah.
And some of those people can't even, like, even for what I make now, some people can't make, and they were making literally millions years ago.
Yes. Yes.
So I tell people
Yeah.
that it's definitely a cautionary story, but at the same time, I don't want to sound morbid, but people are dying every day.
Yes.
So it's like, if I die right now, you know what? I'm dying doing something that I enjoy doing. You know, it,
Yes, and
it may not have,
that's more. It's more important for you to say that you did that than anything else, or you died with, I don't know,
yeah,
in a good relationship, in a good marriage with your kids, spending time with your kids. I don't know, whatever makes you happy.
yeah,
That's ultimately what life is about. We have to be happy with each other. We have to be happy with our lives. There's no reason for us not to be, right? And if you're not, then figure out a way to change it and know that it can change. I know people that feel like they're hopeless.
yeah.
It's not hopeless. and I know some people that, they're suffering, and I get it. And I know, I'm a caretaker for my mother, right? That's a part of my big life right now. Around my age is I'm taking care of my mom. That's a big part of my life. It's a big part of my heart, and it takes up a lot of my energy. But you know what? I'm happy that I have time with her. I'm happy that I can do that. So, I see the little joys and everything, you know?
Yeah,
So,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely. Well, I do appreciate your time and the conversation, and good luck with any and that you do. And if you ever need a role of somebody as a crackhead, I'm available. Let me stop. Not as a crackhead. In fact, I think I'm too big for a crackhead anyway. Let me stop. Once again, everyone, Bobby Yan. Check out. Just listen for his name when you're watching, because I know, like, I just like watching films. If I just come across, if I'm browsing, and like I said, I think it's always good to watch movies that you didn't think that you would even have an interest in, and it pops up on your screen, and the next thing you know, you're like, oh my god, this is a great movie. So, I definitely got to check out Sugar Mama, because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
hoping
So
I'm hoping that that's advice on how to get one, because that's what I'm looking for one.
eh, you don't want this sugar. When you watch this movie, you don't want that sugar mama. Trust me. And once you see, you'll see what I'm talking about. But
Okay, well,
I'll just give one plug. I got 5 movies out. They're all available to watch. Oh, actually, except for the Christmas movie, I think you got to wait for Lifetime. 4 movies that you can watch instantly. 3 of them are on Tubi. Sugar Mama, First Comes Love, Then Comes Murder. Another one called Stalker with Christian Keys and Meta Golding. And then I have a BET film called Deadly Entanglement with Vanessa Simmons and Monica Calhoun, and that is available on BET Plus, but also on Pluto, so it's free. So yeah, you can see all 4 of those movies now, basically for free. So
cool, and that's good to hear. Actually, I have it written down here, so I got to check it out anyway. And yes, I'm a bad friend by haven't seen those movies yet, but
nah, it's all good. It's all good.
I'm also an honest friend
But
too.
when I have a movie in theaters, you better go to the theaters though. That's the
Oh
goal. I
yeah,
want to get a movie in theaters. You better
definitely.
go to the theaters for that one. Said so.
But it's funny. I'm gonna tell you what I tell people when they're like, when I admit that I haven't seen something or heard something, I'm like, how many more articles did you read today? Shuts them up every time. So,
You're right.
but once again, I do appreciate your time and everything that you've discussed today and what you're about to do. And as I tell everybody each time when you're watching me, my friends are better than yours. And if you feel differently, prove it, because I can prove it to you. Once again, BIGCED, industry cosign. Until the next time, peace. Peace.